Howdy. What is something that a group of people have in common? Well, there could be a lot of things that people have in common with one another. Many people like the same food, animals, or even hobbies that they do in their free time. My group decided that our theme of commonality is our childhood. We each had different experiences growing up, but within our experiences, we can find similarities with each other and relate to one another. I'm from Nelson County, Virginia, which is a small rural town. Rebekah is from Hubbard, Texas, which is another rural town. Sofia, she's from College Station, so she understands small town lifestyle, but in the suburb setting. And Angel, he's from Dallas, Texas, so he understands the big city life and also can connect to the suburb lifestyle as Sofia. Though it may not seem like we have a lot in common, we do have commonalities. For instance, I grew up on a small farm, and Rebekah grew up on a ranch. She's from a bigger town than me, but we had similar childhoods by growing up around animals and working with animals. Sofia and Rebekah have similar growing up experiences, and since they both grew up in an average-sized area that's not that big, but it's also not very small, especially compared to where I come from. And lastly, Sofia and Angel have similar experiences growing up in the sense that they both are from suburb areas, even though Angel is from a much bigger area. Growing up in different communities, from small town farms to the big city life, the different environments that everyone grows up in helps them develop into the person that they are today. Even though we all grew up differently, different cities, and even different states, we were able to connect and find ways that our childhoods were alike, starting in small towns to big cities. I'm from a small town. I grew up in a small county in rural Virginia. There I lived on a family farm, and I helped take care of all the animals and take care of the farm. Growing up in a small town on a family farm has brought me closer to my friends and family and is the reason I love animals today. The small town life taught me many things and has made me into the person that I am in the present. And I would like to share that. Starting from a young age, I was always outside on the farm and around the animals. With always being around the animals, you learn a lot about yourself and the animals. I learned that animals behave based on you. If you are timid and fearful, they will be too. But if you're calm and collected, they will be as well. I always enjoyed watching them do their thing, especially baby goats running around and playing with one another and jumping on top of the barn roofs. Whenever I would go and feed the animals, I'd always just hang out a bit and watch them interact with each other, learn the pecking order and all. But there are times when things don't go as planned, and me as a little kid, I would get very frustrated. For instance, if I would go to feed the goats and a goat would get out, I would get all worked up and I wouldn't be able to get the goat back in. Or if I forgot to close the horse gate and all the horses got out, I'd lose my temper and get all upset. As I got older, I began to understand better. Just because things go wrong doesn't mean it's the end of the world. I understand now that as long as I stayed calm and kept myself collected, that in the end it would be easier for me to get the animals where they needed to be and the chores to be done. So by keeping your cool and being calm, everything goes way smoother. And if you need help, just ask. Getting help from others doesn't mean you're weak and can't do things on your own. It means you're responsible and know that not everyone can do stuff without getting help from others. Being from a small county, everybody knows everybody. If anything happened, especially with animals, we could always count on the neighbors to help us or to let us know what was going on. For instance, just recently, our cows had gotten out. I was home with my two younger sisters, and I had gotten all the big cows in, but I was not able to find the calves. And if it wasn't for the neighbors stopping by just to let us know, hey, that they found them, and that they had actually put them in the neighbor's field, I wouldn't have found them, and I would have needed help from my mom. So instead of waiting for my mom to come home later, I asked the neighbors for help, and we blocked off the road, we went up to the neighbor's farm, and we ended up pushing the cows back down into the field, and we were able to get them in with the help of my neighbors and my little sisters. There are many instances when growing up on a farm that you realize that you're going to need help from others, and knowing when to ask can save you a lot of time that you can be using to do other things. People may not think these things are important things to learn, but I would disagree with them. Because of the patience and help needed to run a farm smoothly. Growing up on a family-owned farm has taught me how to have the patience and know that not every task is a one-man task. With my childhood being spent in a small town with a small family farm, I have become much closer to my friends and family, and I have developed a love for animals that I have today. I'm not home on the farm much anymore, but I always have my memories from my childhood and be thankful for all the times I was able to spend on the farm. And when I get the chance, continue to spend my time on the farm and continue making those memories. Being from a small town, family farm in Virginia, to a family-owned ranch in Texas may not be as different as one would think.
Like my peer Hannah, I also grew up in a rural community, but unlike rural Virginia, I grew up in a rural Texas. With my grandparents, I was raised on a ranch in Hubbard, Texas, which is a little bit outside of Waco. It's a very rural community. On this ranch, I spent all of my childhood helping my grandparents with all the things of ranch maintenance, like uh, repairing barns, building fence, and working with horses and cattle. Throughout my childhood of doing these hard tasks, I was taught two values: the values of hard work and the value of dedication. And that's what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about how important the values of hard work and dedication are and how they have shaped me into the person that I am today. And with that, I'll begin with my first topic of hard work. Ranch work is not easy work. Ranch work is difficult. I spent a lot of time, repairing barns, building fence, doing things that most normal 12-year-old girls aren't doing, and helping my grandparents do these tasks. When I helped my grandparents, I was doing very difficult, strenuous tasks in the hot Texas heat, and it was just hard, difficult work. It felt like these projects would never end. However, when the projects would be done and when our work would be finished, I felt proud. Helping my grandparents do these projects and that feeling of accomplishment left me feeling very good about myself. On top of that, on this ranch, we did a lot of cattle and horse work, so I spent a lot of my childhood on horseback. Now, working with horses can be very difficult. Horses are frustrating and they're very stubborn. There would be times where I felt like I would work and work and work with a single horse, and it would just never listen to me. I would want to give up. However, my grandpa would push me and tell me to keep going. He told me to keep working hard, and eventually my hard work paid off. I saw progress. My horses were finally listening to me, and I felt good about myself. When I saw my hard work pay off, along with the pride that hard work left me with, I knew that this was a value that I wanted my entire life. I wanted to work hard so that I could feel proud of myself and see this hard work pay off. However, hard work doesn't come alone. The other value I'd like to talk about is dedication, which goes hand in hand with hard work. In order to work hard, you need to stay dedicated to your work. But since my grandparents were both older, it was hard seeing them struggle doing these hard tasks on the ranch. So I did my best to help them. I was dedicated to my grandparents, and that meant that I was dedicated to my work. I did whatever I could to help them, no matter how hard the task was, and I wouldn't stop my task until I was finished because I had to stay dedicated to my grandparents and also my work. If I wanted to help my grandparents, I had to work hard. Back to the horse thing. If I had just given up because of my frustration and my upset at the horses I was working with, nothing would have happened. I would have just continued feeling upset and frustrated and defeated. My grandpa pushed me. He told me to keep going. And this is what dedicated me to stay working with my horses. And through this dedication, I was able to keep working with them until I saw my hard work pay off. Both of these values are incredibly important to me. I would never have gotten these values had I not grown up on this ranch with my grandparents, where they taught me these things. Hard work and dedication are important because without them, I wouldn't be the person that I am today. I know I can't go back to my childhood, but I do miss it at times. However, I am very grateful that my childhood taught me the values that it taught me, and I'm so grateful to my grandparents for doing all that they could. Growing up on this ranch taught me how to be dedicated to my work and how to keep working hard. Now, that was my life on a rural ranch in Texas. However, life is much different for my peer Sofia, who grew up in an urban area of Texas.
16 years ago, College Station was a very different town than what it is now. When my family used to drive down Welborn Road and Highway 6, all we would see was land and cattle. College Station has grown drastically from a small college town to a medium-sized city over the past 16 years. When I was a kid, I never really thought College Station had much to offer other than holding A&M, and I never would have imagined that it would turn into a place where people from all over would desire to be. I feel like my experience growing up in College Station is somewhat of a hybrid between what my partners, Rebekah and Hannah, experienced in their small country towns, as well as Angel with his Dallas Metroplex. College Station was always a small town in my mind. We didn't have any fancy restaurants or cute shops or super fun things to do. In fact, going to Texas Roadhouse every couple weeks with my family was a pretty big deal to my 6 or 7-year-old mind. Everybody in our neighborhood knew each other. I had a few best friends across the street and then another one a couple doors down, and my parents' best friends just lived a street over. We'd all play in our front yards and in the streets while our parents watched and talked about work and how we were growing up so fast. But to my sisters and I and all of our friends, we were just living life at a slow pace with no rush or urgency or anything like that. It wasn't until middle school when I started to notice how much College Station was growing. So we had just built a third middle school, and some of my friends had transferred over to the new rival middle school. And it was also around this time where a bunch of new developments started popping up around town. I learned what a boutique was and about Lululemon when Century Square was built, and restaurants like Porter's in the Republic that required reservations also sprung up, and traffic grew as the town did. So my dad works at A&M, and I always knew that I lived in a college town, but I never really knew what that meant until high school. So all my friends' parents went to A&M, and they expected their kids to do the same. And I never thought that I would stay in my hometown for college, but once I got a taste of the Aggie community, I knew that I couldn't leave. So when my family went to our first Aggie football game when I was in high school, I was a little bit nervous at first because I'd never been surrounded by so many people moving so fast, but I was unexpectedly comfortable being in a stadium of almost 100,000 people because everybody was just there in support of the same thing. So I never really thought of College Station as a big city or, a big town. I just always thought it was really small and quaint, but it's definitely fair to say that it has some aspects of a big city. I now drive down Welborn Road and Highway 6, and I don't see the cows grazing anymore. I just see a bunch of strip malls and stores and H-E-Bs and things like that. Even though College Station is still a small town in my mind, it's almost as if A&M is a big city within itself. Big enough where you can probably meet somebody new when studying at Evans or Med-Sci Library, but also small enough where you need to be careful when you flick someone off in traffic because you just might know who they are.
Just like my peers, I became the person I am today due to the environment I grew up. A little different. My story is a young first-generation student from a major city, Dallas, Texas. So basically, it is a huge shift from rural to urban. My experience was a little more different. I was exposed to a lot more different cultures. But for me growing up, I grew up in Carrollton, went to school there, born and raised. So I was typically around my environment at home. A lot of minorities. Went to a predominantly minority high school, it was interesting. It was really my comfort level. I was too comfortable with who I was at the time. Didn't realize that I was falling into the stereotype within my family. It was rare to graduate high school within my family. Nobody had ever gone to college. Nobody had, really any aspirations of going to college. So that kind of shifted my mentality, shifted the way I viewed high school. I joined all these organizations. I joined all these sports. I truly tried to go above and beyond and kind of grow and see, take a couple of risks, get out of my comfort zone, explore, kind of just see what's out there for me, see what I like, see what I don't. Obviously, with this came a lot of stress, came a lot of maturity that I gained along the way, and I'm truly thankful for. I can proudly say that I graduated from my high school top 15%, which is honestly within itself rare in my family to even graduate, so I'm extremely proud of that. I was able to say that I, applied to A&M, which was something I didn't even want to do at, going into high school. So truly kind of being around an environment where when I come home, it looks like I'm at home when I'm at school. So it really did, really pushed myself to kind of become someone that I wanted to be. So that truly is part of like kind of how my high school days shaped me, who I was around, who I surrounded myself with. As I grew older, as I, transitioned from grade to grade, I realized, okay, some of these people don't have the same goals as me, so let me explore, let me continue, let me move on, let me try this, let me try that. So along my days in high school, working in high school is also something that truly shaped me into who I am today. Obviously, coming from a minority family, we don't have the best income, household income. So if I wanted something, I had to go ahead and work for it. So I jumped around from construction to fast food chains to retail, and that truly helped me plan ahead for the future. It gave me valuable experience, not only as a young teen, but truly opened my eyes that I don't want to do that for the rest of my life. I want to work a corporate job. I want to work in an office. I don't want to be in the heat for 12 hours, getting paid minimum at the hour. So that truly helped me kind of get an adult perspective of what I want for myself, what I want for my family in the future, and kind of helped me get out a little bit more out of my comfort zone. I can say I did that. I can say I don't want to continue to do that for the future, and it is something that I'm extremely grateful for. It is something that I will always hold proud that I was able to accomplish that. I was able to do that. I was able to say that, I went out there, I went and tried that, but that's not what I want. So it's just a lot of explorations. There was a lot of excitement within it. It's getting your first paycheck as a 16-year-old. That really, that money really went by quick, but it taught me a lot of valuable lessons about how to save money, how to be responsible, how to also help out around the house too when I can. Gave me a lot more responsibilities with time management, school, balancing work, and then homework, and then my extracurricular activities. It truly shaped me into a responsible human being, a responsible young adult as well. So it was tough, I won't lie, but I can proudly say that nowadays, like present time, I still use some of the things I learned from my experience there in college, and it's something that I will forever cherish and forever continue to do for the rest of my life. So that is something that truly holds a huge impact in my life, and I'm really proud of it. And that's kind of a little bit about my hometown and how it was, just an abundance of opportunities, breaking that comfort zone, breaking the stereotype of, graduate high school, but you don't have to be the best. So I truly strove to be the best. Obviously, I wasn't valedictorian or anything like that, but I'm content where I'm at currently, but I'm always striving for more. I'm always exploring. Truly shaped me into the ambitious human being that I am proud to say I am. I am never satisfied. I am very, very self-critical of myself, but in a healthy way. So it helps me maintain my stress, but it helps me focus on things that I can, improve and focus on for the future and plan ahead as well. Like my peers and myself, our background truly shaped us who we are today. Whether it's from living on a ranch or in a big city, the environment that one grew up in can heavily influence how one develops into an adult. There's a lot of factors that come into play when looking at this. It's so broad that one can say, I'm from a big city, for example, and this is how it shaped my life. And it can be completely different from another person who's also from a big city. One can say they are from, a ranch, and another person can say they also from a ranch, but it can truly vary. There's different factors, and they all lead to the same theme. it shapes them who they are today. There's factors within each little piece of information that need to be accounted for, and in this specific scenario, it's where we grew up, who we grew up around with, what we did growing up, and what led to who we are now, and how is it shaping us today, and how is it affecting our daily life.